No mai, haere mai, and thanks for being with us on AM this morning. It has just gone 19 after 7. A warning over the ever-increasing number of ram raids around the country. Children as young as 11 have been involved in driving cars at high speeds into buildings, risking their own lives and the lives of those inside them and the people they drive past on the motorways. Take a look.
Oh, free the lockups, free us. Fuck the police. Fuck the police. Nigga. It's gay. Yeah, free us. Free expert, free leverage.
I'm a certified slick, gonna to the end. I live my life as a crook. Only time to re-offend. YG is my address, that's where I was raised. Make moves with the wicked, slick criminals my place. Starting band with the real triggers up in my teeth. SM freeze, motherfucker, you don't know what I've seen. When I'm free, I'm a liver. When I see it as
Hoodrats. A hoodrat is a slang word for a young person, typically under the age of 18, whom participates in illegal activity such as low-tier assaults, selling/slanging illegal substances such as weed and ecstasy, steal vehicles and commit ram raids on dairies and malls with these stolen cars. They rob innocent people and vandalize private property with graffiti. To spot a hoodrat, they typically dress themselves in all black head to toe, with a shoulder bag or fanny pack, and have Nike shoes on, most likely stolen TNs.
So this was the house where I had to hide behind, so I could hide from the Hoodrats. The Hoodrats, we were just walking down Pack Highway, a normal friend group walking down Pack Highway in year 12, and we were going to get some food and then pick up the bro, because the bro's brother was missing at Lloyd Elsmore. And yeah, as we're walking down Pack Highway, a massive group of Hoodrats, 20 Hoodrats, they start following us and trying to steal our shit. So we all have to flee, and we all split up. And I'm running down this road here. I'm walking down thinking I'm safe, but they start pulling up in cars. 3 different cars they pull down 3 different driveways, and I'm like, oh shit. So I start running, and I had to hide behind this person's house for about half an hour to an hour before I could leave. So I was very terrified and petrified, and something needs to be done to these streets so that we have a safe and humble environment and a community that everyone loves each other.
Youth crime in East Auckland does not only consist of robberies and ram raids. However, other major offences include assaults, stabbings, and random attacks on society. These youth attacks have risen greatly within the past 2 years. For example, going on the New Zealand Herald website, majority of the top recent articles reference youth crime. Youth crime has always been an issue in Auckland, mostly South and West Auckland. However, in recent times, East Auckland has fallen victim to these horrendous crimes.
Oh, look, I think it's pretty awful, and I think we're seeing on a day-to-day basis the amount of crime is increasing. There's a huge problem in our society at the moment with truancy, and these are issues which need to be addressed by the government, and there needs to be consequences for young people who break the law. And at the moment, we're not seeing that. We're just seeing slap on the hand, wet bus ticket, when actually there needs to be consequences for people who break the law.
Simeon Brown is a national MP for the Pakuranga East Auckland area and a spokesperson for transport and public service. Before entering politics, Simeon Brown completed a law and commerce degree. He assumed office on September the 23rd, 2017. During his first term, Simeon Brown promoted legislation to increase penalties for synthetic drugs. He also sponsored a bill for Parliament for a firearms prohibition order, which gave the police force an effective way to take firearms away from criminals. We decided to interview Simeon because of his local presence in politics and for his previous work in the field of combating criminality in Auckland.
Well, I don't think there's any justification for what they're doing. The reality is there's obviously a real breakdown in society, and there needs to be a real consequence. And their parents also need to be brought into the conversation around why are they out at night doing what they're doing. The police need to take a very strong stance against youth crime. Ultimately, these young people will be in prison if they don't get these issues sorted out sooner rather than later. Look, I think the number one thing is the police need to take a firm stance against youth crime and actually take a real interest in these young people to make sure we're tackling the issue at its root. The current approach, which is there's no consequences, is not working and needs to change. Look, I think it's a very sad situation. If we don't deal with the crime now, it's only going to get worse, and that's going to give New Zealand a very bad reputation. We need to sort this issue out now.
As we can see in this heat map, Auckland has the highest increase of monthly victimizations. This is a 20% increase over the past 3 years. Currently, New Zealand's minimum age for criminal responsibility is as low as 10 to 11 years old. And with the ever-rising rates of youth crime, this may influence children to offend, which is unfair to them, as they are too young to know what's right and wrong. This is why we believe that the minimum age of criminal responsibility should be raised to 14 to 16 years old.
So I came here after school because I was going to the pharmacy and then I was going to the supermarket, and I thought I'll just park somewhere in between. But what I didn't know is I'd parked in a blind spot, and this garage here is the garage for the supermarket above. But then I think people were waiting in here to see, because I went to the pharmacy that way, and I went back up and I did some shopping. And then when I came back, it was probably about an hour. And then when I came back, I came over to find my car. I'd parked my car here. Unfortunately, it means that all of the security cameras are pointing in the wrong direction. This is a blind spot. So I came back and I found my car was up on a jack like this. So I didn't know what had happened. I thought maybe I was going to be towed or something. I talked to one of the staff. He said, no, they must have been trying to do something to your car. So what they'd done is they'd started to cut out the catalytic converter which sits underneath the car, because it's worth a lot of money on the black market. Actually organized and kind of looking for criminal opportunity. So that cost me like a lot of money to replace, but fortunately, I didn't have to replace, they couldn't get the converter. So it would have cost me thousands of dollars, but it cost me hundreds instead.
So this rise in East Auckland youth crime has not only impacted us personally, as we've shown in our various accounts, it's also impacted us interpersonally, because it leaves the whole community displaced, and we're being subjected to this crime that nobody wants to be a victim of. As we can see here in this graph, the crime has raised so much that it's just really overwhelming in this area. So graphs like this one can show us that it's obvious that there's a huge rise at the moment in youth crime in East Auckland. So because of these stats, we really just need to get someone into a position of political power that can really crack down on the youth crime at the moment, or else it's going to keep rising, as stats usually do. And this normalization that we're seeing through social media, through these Hoodrats posting their videos and photos of their crimes, it's really just showing that it's completely normalized now, and it's actually cool to be a full-fledged criminal, which is completely ridiculous. It's a lifestyle that will send you to prison, as Simeon Brown said. And these kids that are very young, they're going to have no future. They're going to keep going to prison, and they're going to get back out on parole and house arrest, etc. And they're just going to keep committing crimes, and it's because it was normalized when they were young. Because, you know, when you have a habit when you're young, it usually just increases and gets worse when you're older, like, say, drug addiction or etc. So this graph also shows the rise in youth crime and general crime in East Auckland, and it's just very concerning. But through these stats, we can see that there is absolute evidence that this rise is actually happening, and it's not being overly exaggerated by us. It is very concerning, especially in a place like East Auckland. It's usually one of the more notably safe environments in Auckland, and recently we've just seen a total reversal in this. So thank you for watching.